Everyone in crypto talks about market cap, like it tells you everything that you need to know about a digital asset. But what if I told you that market cap is actually one of the worst ways to measure real strength of a digital asset? Over the last year, I've been working on a white paper for something I call the liquidity index. Liquidity index is an equation designed to measure the true utility and stability of a digital asset, not just the price, but the real mechanics of liquidity. Because real liquidity isn't just one variable, it's a system, and it requires 6 different components. It's the depth of a market, the continuity of liquidity in a market, the cost of moving that capital or the slippage, the available supply, the speed at which it can actually settle, and the access you actually have to be able to use that digital asset. When you start measuring these 6 components together, something fascinating appears. The assets that will power the next financial system can't just be volatile speculation. They actually require a high, stable price in order to function at a global scale. So in this video, I'm going to make it simple for you to understand each piece behind the equation, and at the end of it, you can comment liquidity index below, and it'll get you a free version of the white paper. So let's get into it. So the first piece of this is really kind of supply and demand. There's 2 components to available supply. There's a piece that is like the total amount of the token, and there's also what's available to be traded. So think about Pokemon cards as an example. Imagine there's somebody that holds, 100 of these rare Charizards. There's actually a guy that has this, right? And it drives the price of those Charizards up because there's a concentration of supply. He wants them and other people want them, and because of that, he can kind of drive price in a market. So if there's only 100 that were ever printed, just pretend with me for a second, and no more coming ever, which again, there's a finite supply of the original Charizards. Now, imagine that the collector walks up and somebody else wants to buy 50 of those in one shot. That's half the global supply of these Charizards, gone with one person's collection. So what happens to the price of the remaining 50 Charizards if somebody buys 50 from the guy that has the 100? The cards haven't changed, it's the same card, but because now there's fewer of them that are available on the market to be sold, the same number of collectors still want them, there's scarcity, and that drives the price up. That's the first piece of what's happening with XRP and these payment networks. Fixed supply, growing demand, and the remaining cards get more valuable. The next piece is where it gets interesting, and this is the part that most people completely miss. It's the depth of a market. So let's say there's a giant bank, call it JP Morgan, and they want to move $100 million from one country to another, and they want to use XRP to do it. Think of XRP's market like a swimming pool or a large pond. The water in the pool is the money that's available to absorb that trade. If the pool is shallow, like in the kiddie pool, and a 200-pound adult cannonballs into that, what happens? Well, water goes everywhere, and it's a total mess. Everyone around the pool gets soaked, and that's what happens to the price when massive banks try to push $100 million through a thin market. The price crashes. But if the pool is the size of a lake or an Olympic swimming pool, and it's deep and full of water, the same cannonball barely makes a splash. The water absorbs it. The price stays stable. So the question is, how do you make the pool deeper? The lever for that is got to be price. Here's the thing about XRP and other payment networks. The number of tokens are fixed. There are only so many of them, so they can't print more of them. It doesn't work like the Federal Reserve printing dollars. So if the pool stays the same size, there's the same number of tokens. The only way that they can make that liquidity deeper is to make each token worth more. Think about it this way. If XRP is worth $1 each, and you need to move $100 million to the network, you need 100 million tokens sitting in the pool ready to be able to absorb that trade. That's a lot. But as the pool gets larger, and let's say XRP is worth $100 each, you only need 1 million tokens to absorb the same $100 million trade. Same number of dollars moving, way less stress on the pool. Price is able to stay more stable. So same supply of tokens, higher price for each token, deeper liquidity. The banks will actually start using it when that's the case. And that's not speculation, that's arithmetic. The price has to be higher for these networks to do what they're designed to do. So let's talk about slippage. When that guy jumps in the pool and it's a thin market and water goes everywhere, that's similar to the slippage. Slippage means you try to buy or sell something at one price, but you end up getting the worst price because your order is too big for the market to handle cleanly. Here's the best way to picture it. Imagine a garage sale. A guy has, call it 100 vinyl records, and he's got them priced all at $1. Well, you start coming over and you start grabbing them, right? First couple he sells for $1, but as he sees that you have more demand and more interest, he starts raising the price on you because he knows you're willing to pay it. You went in expecting to pay $100 for all those records, but now you ended up spending like $250 and you didn't even get all the records. That's called slippage. Your big order moves the price against what you want. So for big banks, slippage is a major problem. Right now, if banks tried to push $100 million through XRP, they would lose somewhere around 10% just because of slippage. That's $10 million just gone. Nobody's going to do that. But in traditional stock markets, moving $100 million costs them less than half of 1%. So right now, crypto loses that comparison port, right? It's no contest. cost. There's not enough liquidity. But to close the gap, it's really just straight math. The value sitting on the order books needs to grow by something like 20 to 100 times. And since the number of tokens can't grow, the price of the